Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Alertus webinar series. My name is Vincent Busher, Marketing Coordinator at Alertus Technologies. During this presentation, Eric Murphy will provide insight on Alertus's VoIP and phone system integration technology and how its capabilities can add another critical layer of protection to your emergency notification system. Now, during the webinar, please feel free to submit your questions at any time, and they will be addressed during the Q&A session at the end of this presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be shared with you after today's session. If you have any questions after this presentation, please email marketing@alertus.com. Now I'd like to turn it over to Eric.
Hey everybody, thanks Vinny. Like Vinny was saying, my name's Eric Murphy. I'm a regional account manager here at Alertus, and I mainly focus in kind of education, but I have experience in all types of different industries. So real quick agenda, just what we wanted to go over today. Obviously, we're going to give you a little bit of information about Alertus, kind of who we are, where we come from, what our goals are. Then we're going to dive deeper into how organizations that we work with send alerts and how they kind of share communications amongst their facilities. Then we're going to dive deeper into some challenges that some of them have and some ways that people typically struggle in the emergency communication space. Then we're going to talk about unified mass communication, both how it works and how to create kind of layers within your emergency notification system. Then, obviously, we're going to talk about all the different types of VoIP notification that Alertus can provide. Like Vinny was saying, if you do have questions, please save them for the question and answer session at the end of this presentation. So, first things first, just a quick little overview of Alertus Technologies. So, we've been around since 2002, and we've quickly become a kind of industry leader in this idea of facility-based emergency notification. So essentially notifying the space around an individual instead of their individual cell phones, their individual emails. This allows organizations to target a wider audience from contractors that might be working on site to visitors to special events that they might have. Alertus is here to kind of help fill in the gaps that some of the other emergency notification platforms might leave behind. So we work in all different industries, from education to government to healthcare to factories. Pretty much your company, we probably have some type of Alertus customer that is in the same industry or the same vertical as you. So as far as challenges go, and as far as what a lot of the organizations that we talk to struggle with emergency notification, obviously it can be different. Each site is different, each facility is different, but we've kind of picked the main ones and outlined them on this slide here. So a lot of people have multiple buildings or multiple locations that they're responsible for. So whether you're a college campus and you have 5 or 10 buildings on your campus, you want to be able to actually just notify one of those buildings, or whether you're a large company and you might have an office, a couple offices across the state, across the country, or even across the world. A lot of people struggle with how to get information just to the specific areas that they need. Multiple systems to activate. A lot of the times when you start upgrading these emergency communication systems, if you don't have a way to tie those all together, it can become very cumbersome to actually get an emergency notification out. A lot of times there's not a way to notify all those locations that something's happening, whether it's just not possible with cell phones not being allowed, or whether it's just a hard area to notify. A lot of people struggle with that. Large employee headcounts, or simply this can be just a lot of people on your site. Let's say you're a college campus and you're having a special event going on where you have a lot of visitors coming in, or let's just say you're a large office building and you struggle with different ways to let each one of your employees know that something's happening. A lot of people struggle with how to get communication out to the masses. Employees moving between locations is a pretty big one as well. If you do have multiple locations, whether within the state or within the country, you might have people traveling in and out and traveling between the two. And it's really important to kind of have a system or have a way to know where they are and just be able to notify them within that area so that they're getting the information that's pertinent to them. Large facilities are big. When you kind of expand your facility, your communication needs to expand with that, and a lot of people struggle with just how to get communications to those large areas. Cell phones not being allowed, whether it's an R&D lab where you restrict that for obvious reasons, or whether it's a classroom where professors or teachers don't like to have students have their cell phones out. That can distract from your ability as the emergency manager to actually get the notification across effectively. And then lastly, visual alerting. A lot of people struggle with just how you kind of capture somebody visually and, bring them to this emergency alert to, broadcast that message essentially. So that brings us to kind of where Alertus can step in and kind of alleviate a lot of these challenges. We really focus on kind of creating a single point of activation for your emergency notification system. So we want to make it as easy as possible for you to send out this alert. So whether you have a couple different systems in place, whether you have a lot of different technology in place, Alertus is going to be the glue that kind of holds all that together and allows you to activate from one centralized spot. And a lot of the ways we do that is by integrating in with technology that you might already have at your organization, whether that is another emergency notification system, whether that's your desktop computers, your VoIP phones like we're going to talk about today. We're really focused on helping you save money, cutting down on, learning a new system by just kind of tying those systems together. Then lastly, filling in the gaps is also, a big part of what we do. After we integrate, there still might be some areas that are being missed with emergency communication. That's where Alertus comes in with some of our proprietary products to help kind of fill in those gaps and actually get notification to those areas. So a big concept today in emergency notification is this concept of layering. So essentially what this is, and this is kind of taken from the NFPA standard. So essentially it's creating redundancy in your emergency notification system. So utilizing these different layers of emergency communications, you can ensure that one, you're reaching people with different avenues of communication. Everyone receives information differently. Everyone pays attention to different things. So if you can really kind of create 3, 4, 5 different ways of getting the same message to people, it'll resonate with them a lot quicker and a lot more effectively that something is going on. But also, you have that redundancy piece in. So if for whatever reason, one of your systems is down and you're not able to use that to send out emergency communications, some of the other systems can come into play to deliver that. Let's say, all of your computers are down for whatever reason. You can still get messages through the VoIP phones. You can still get messages through, digital signs, things like that. So that's going to be a big part of kind of what I circle back to during this presentation. So I did kind of want to outline that up front here. So as far as VoIP notification goes, I quickly just wanted to kind of review what VoIP actually is for those of you who might not know. So essentially VoIP is voice over internet protocol. So essentially that means that we use the internet to relay voice communications over your network. So a big reason that this has been growing so much in the last couple years is that it's very reliable. If you have internet connection, chances are pretty good that you're going to have that VoIP connection as well. It's also very easy to scale. So because of that, we've seen a tremendous growth in the VoIP phone market in the last couple years, and that's actually projected to continue growing. So I'm sure a lot of you currently have a VoIP system at your organization, but if you don't, the chances are pretty good that you'll probably get one in the next couple years here. So, just the ability to override that is going to be pretty big. It is right now, but it's going to continue to be that way and continue to grow in the next couple years. So as far as just a high level overview of how phone systems work, typically the old way to do it through a PBX or through kind of that analog system is that the internet will send information to your modem, which will then go to your router. And like I said, in the more traditional phone sense, that router is going to connect with what's called a PBX, which will then broadcast information to the phones and vice versa. With SIP, with VoIP, you essentially bypass that PBX system, going directly to the phones from your internet connection with that router, most of the time through a call manager. And that's going to be a very similar way to what you might get information to a typical computer. So as far as the Alertus VoIP notification goes, there are a few different options for VoIP notification. We understand that there's a lot of different VoIP vendors out there. There's a lot of different phone systems that you could use. So we've kind of created a couple different solutions for that, so that no matter what kind of VoIP system you have, we're going to be able to override that. So I'm going to first start with software integrations, which we've built out through the Cisco VoIP environment, and we've also built out an integration with Avaya IP Office and So I'll start with the Cisco VoIP. Essentially, this is a great way to notify people that might be at their desk. I'll get into the features in a second, but essentially what this is going to do is going to tie all of your VoIP phones into your emergency notification system. And then with the Cisco VoIP notification, we're actually connecting with the call manager on this. So when you activate that call manager, you can actually get that message out simultaneously to all of these VoIP phones. And this is real time. So I talk about kind of layering, and I talk about some of the different methods of kind of creating redundancy within your emergency notification system. The VoIP phone is, in my opinion, kind of the pinnacle of how you do that. Because if you're sitting at your desk, you're going to get a message, from your VoIP phone at the same exact time. Your computer is going to be overridden saying the exact same thing. Your cell phone's going to go off, with a third-party text messaging and email system. And then the PA system is actually going to start speaking a message to you. So right there, you have 4 different avenues of communication. That way, if my back's turned and I'm not facing my computer, I can hear my VoIP phone going off. If for whatever reason my computer's off, I'm still going to get that message at my desk through my VoIP phone. So this is a really great way of just kind of creating those layers and kind of creating that redundancy as far as emergency notification goes. As far as the actual features of our Cisco VoIP notification, you essentially can think of this 2 different ways. So the first way is kind of broadcasting from your emergency management office or from your dispatch center out to the rest of your organization. So with that, we're going to do things like alert visually through the kind of leveraging the light on your phone, but also delivering an actual text message on the screen of exactly what's happening. So that's going to capture your attention visually. And then audibly, you can actually broadcast a tone or a pre-recorded voice message. So right there, you kind of have both audible and visual notification, which makes this a very effective way to actually get notification across. Now, not only can this be used for actually notifying people that something's happening, but they can also use it for notifying your office that they need assistance or that something's happening. Using either the call monitoring feature, where we can monitor a certain range of numbers. So let's say you wanted to be notified whenever someone calls 911 and you wanted that to go directly to your office, while they're on the phone with the dispatch center. You can actually program that in here. So that way, when they call 911, they're obviously going to talk on the phone with them. But at the same time, you can begin sending your teams into action because you're going to get a message that says, 911 was called at suite 203, at this person's desk. So that way you can kind of, potentially respond to that information or that emergency a little bit faster than, maybe the local police might, since you're, more local actually in the building. But on the actual activator side, you can actually activate the system through this as well. So let's say, you as the emergency manager, you actually want to be able to activate your Alertus system quickly and efficiently utilizing your phone. You can do that using a set of predefined extensions that you simply type into your phone. You type in your passcode, and from there, right there from your VoIP phone, you can actually activate this system. So not only is this a really great way of getting notification out to people, but there's also kind of that 2-way communication as well, because you can get a message when someone is in peril, and if you are at your desk, you can quickly activate from the phone itself. So that's our Cisco VoIP notification. And just kind of a side note, if you are on the phone, or let's say you're on an important conference call with a lot of your coworkers, and someone actually activates this system, the phone goes into whisper mode, which pretty much means that only you on kind of the receiving end of that are going to hear that message. The person on the other end is not. So if you're on the phone with an important client, or you're in a meeting and you get this emergency message, they don't have to hear what's happening. You can kind of tell them in your own words and kind of divulge as much information as you want while you're on the phone with them, because again, with whisper mode, you only hear it kind of on the receiving end of that. So again, just kind of reviewing some of the key features. This is really good for large office spaces, really anywhere where you have a desk phone or you have kind of a large environment with a lot of desk phones. You can get immediate activation through the Alertus server on this. And it's also secure because it does use your existing Cisco call manager to kind of get communications through that. So this is just a quick little demonstration of what a Cisco VoIP notification system looks like. You're going to see the lights. You're going to see the text on here as well. Okay, so with that, you saw that, not only did you get the message to that Cisco phone, but you actually activated that all clear message right there from the phone. So that is up on the internet if any of you kind of want to view that at your leisure. Next, I want to talk about the Avaya VoIP phone notification. So very similar to the Cisco notification, you're able to actually get emergency messages out from your office or the dispatcher's office to the rest of your organization, utilizing things like, again, the light on the phone, leveraging the screen to actually get that text notification on the phone. Also, actually activating a tone on that as well. And like the Cisco VoIP notification, you are able to activate whisper mode on this as well. So again, if you're on the phone talking with someone, the person on the other end is not going to hear that alert. You're going to be able to kind of tell them that information, with whatever words you choose there. So the Avaya VoIP phone notification is a really effective way of getting that message out. With this, you're not going to get some of the other kind of panic button features or the call monitoring as of now, but still a great way of actually getting that notification across. So next, I want to talk about some of the hardware integrations that we have. So obviously, we understand that not everyone is using a Cisco system, not everyone's using an Avaya system. The market is much bigger than just those two companies. So because of that, we've created a couple hardware integrations that actually allow you to leverage your phone system, whether it is a different system than those Cisco or Avaya, still broadcast emergency notification to them. So first is what's called our SIP annunciator. So essentially, this SIP annunciator dials paging groups that you've already set up within your system to deliver a direct text-to-speech message across those phones. So essentially, when you activate that alert, the SIP annunciator is going to dial that paging group. From there, all the phones are going to pick up and actually broadcast that message out in a matter of seconds. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the text-to-speech technology, it kind of does exactly what it sounds like it does, but it'll take whatever text that you put onto the alert beat or the alerted system to send out, let's say to your desktop computers, to your alert beacons, and it'll actually convert that into speech that you and I are going to be able to understand. And in this case, it'll be broadcast across all of your VoIP phones. So again, this solution was developed to scale to organizations or companies that might not be running the Cisco or Avaya solutions where we can integrate with software. Hardware is a great option for that. And below in the kind of red box, you see the SIP Conserver Compatibility kind of chart. By no means is that a definitive list. Those are just instances where we've had successful SIP deployments with those companies in the past. So if you do have if your SIP system is with any of those companies down there, chances are pretty good that we're going to be able to make that happen for you. So let's say you have an analog phone system. That's not a problem. We can still actually notify those endpoints with Alertus, but instead of using the SIP annunciator, instead of using a software integration, we're going to use what's called an analog phone interface. So essentially, this is going to dial a DTMF tone. So what you can do on kind of your analog phone system side is set up a paging group or a calling group with that DTMF tone, and then we can program that in to our system. So whenever we activate the Alertus solution, if you select VoIP phones, that DTMF tone is going to be dialed, and then from there, all of those phones are going to pick up, and similar to the SIP annunciator, it's actually going to broadcast those text-to-speech messages across the analog phone system. So, even if you're running an analog system, no worries, you can still integrate them in with your Alertus system. So as far as kind of the VoIP notification goes, and as far as getting the notification to the desk phone goes, that is all I wanted to talk about today. As you can see, Alertus can pretty much take any kind of SIP system or any kind of phone system that you have and leverage it for emergency communication, utilizing one of the 4 integration points that I talked about. So at this point, if anyone has any questions, feel free to type them into the chat box here, and then we'll do our best to answer them.
Thank you, Eric. We are now beginning the Q&A session of our presentation. If you have a question, please submit it through the chat or question box. Please note if we do not get to your question during this session, a representative will reach out to answer your question directly. A recording of this webinar will also be shared with you after today's presentation. Now let's begin with our first question. I have a Cisco VoIP phone system. How many phones can I target at a given time?
So the maximum for the number of phones that can be targeted is up to 10,000. So if you're anywhere above that, 10,000 of them. If you're below that, we should be able to target all of your phones.
All right, next question. Can I add a custom WAV file to one of the VoIP software integrations?
Yep, you can do that. So you can, pretty much add whatever you want in there as long as it is a WAV file, so that if you want to broadcast, let's say a voice message, or let's say you just have a custom tone you want to put out, you can actually get that message out.
What phones are supported for VoIP software integrations?
So we do have a list of compatible phones and the accompanying data sheets, which we can share with you after this presentation.
Our next question, how long will the audio notification last when sending an alert via software integration?
So the WAV file can play for typically between 10 and 30 seconds. Your administration can extend the length of that tone if they want, by just kind of duplicating that to play with the desired amount of time.
And our last question here, how would I best be able to identify what my organization's capability is with your VoIP products?
That's a good question. So like I was saying, every organization is different, and we run into a lot of different VoIP phone vendors. But it's best to kind of reach out to your Alertus account rep, and we'll work hand in hand with our sales engineering team to decide, figure out what is going to work best for you, whether it's a software integration or one of the hardware integrations. If you don't know who your Alertus account manager is, we'll have someone reach out to you so that you can begin kind of that option with them.
Thank you, Eric. We have now concluded the Q&A session of our presentation. Again, if we did not get to your question, we will reach out to you directly with an answer. If you have any questions or need additional information, please feel free to email marketing@alertus.com and we'll be happy to assist you. If you are looking for more information on Alertus and our solutions, visit our website at www.alertus.com. If you're interested in upcoming webinars, please visit alertus.com/webinars to see the full schedule. Thank you for joining today's webinar, and we look forward to meeting you again soon.